So today is all about 14.4, multiplying polynomials, which we've already done in 14.3, but now we're going to do a larger polynomial times a larger polynomial. We're going to actually focus on binomial times a binomial. Our essential question of the day: how do you multiply binomials and polynomials? Well, again, distributive property. We focus on that a lot when we sat there and multiplied, but we're going to teach you a new term called FOIL. Vocab for the day. That's right, FOIL. FOIL is an acronym for what? First, outer, inner, last. Okay? So now let's back it up a little bit and see if I can explain why we have to use this thing called FOIL. Well, when we naturally had, just say, a constant outside of a binomial, let's put x plus y, and we distribute it, we just put it into every single term, right? And that became 6x plus 6y. So that was pretty simple. But now we're going to use FOIL. Why? Because we're no longer multiplying just one constant or a monomial times a binomial. We now have two binomials. So let's say that it is x plus y and x plus, let's just change it to b so you understand that things are a little bit different. Okay? So here we go. I need to multiply every term in this first one to every term in this second one. Okay, so what does that mean? I'm going to do the first, so this x, I go to the first term in the second binomial. Then I'm going to go to the outer term of that second binomial. Then I'm going to do the inner terms, so that's y times this x. And then I'm going to do the last one. So y times the b. So there you go. You have how many arrows? 4. So how many problems are you going to have? 4. And all you're doing is multiplying, because every time you see an arrow, that means multiplication. So this really says what? Let's check the first arrow. The first arrow goes from this x to the first x. Okay, so that says x times x. Cool. And then there's a plus sign right there, okay? So that says x times what? B. Make sense? Okay. Not done. We want to do y now to this x. So y times x. Because remember, you have to go every term in the first one to every term in the second one. All right. And then y times the what? The b. So we're going to add y times b. So this is your first, this is your outer, this is your inner, and this is your last. And if you follow this concept, you'll be able to go pretty quick, okay, through binomial times binomial. Now I can simplify these, and I'll do that for you just so we know what that is. This is a power 1, this is a power 1. What did we say about when we multiply the same variable times itself? We have x 1 plus 1. So that is x squared. This one, x and b, I'm just going to put it in alphabetical order, so bx. This one, y times x, I'm just going to put it in alphabetical order, so that's xy. All right. Then this one, again, y times b, I'm going to put in alphabetical order, so b, y. So the first one out there is the one with the highest power, and then all the rest, really, I could put this into x squared plus bx plus by plus xy, and that is alphabetical order. Okay? So let's do it with some numbers. First, outer, inner, last. It really would look something like this. So 2x plus 1 multiplied to, let's say, 3x minus 4. Okay? So let's draw our arrows. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I have 4 problems. So this says what? 2x times 3x. 2x times a negative 4. 1 times 3x. 1 times negative 4. Okay? And notice I just put plus signs all the way in. We're just going to add them. I kept the signs with the actual term. Okay? So 2 times 3 is what? 6. X times x is really what I'm going to do. 1 plus 1. So I get x squared. 2 times a negative 4 is what? Negative 8. X times nothing else is just x. Okay? Here, 1 times 3. I get what? Positive 3. X times nothing else is just x. 1 times a negative 4 is what? Negative 4. But what can I do? That's right. Combine like terms. So I get 6x squared. Remember, if I'm adding, do I do anything with these powers? No. If I'm adding or subtracting, do nothing with the powers or the variable. So all I deal with is what? The coefficients. Negative 8 plus 3 really says 8 minus 3, which is 5. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So negative 5x. And then there's just a constant of negative 4. And this is my final answer for FOIL. So I want to make sure you understand, because of that property of FOIL and multiplying a binomial times a binomial, we literally can actually speed up the process and not have to multiply everything out. I'm just showing you this. I'd rather you work it out if you can, but if you are a little bit more advanced, you can definitely use this graphic organizer. All right, sum and difference. Okay, if I have a binomial and I'm adding the first two terms here, but in the second polynomial they sit there and they subtract, then all you're really doing, because once you combine like terms in the middle, they'll cancel themselves out. You have a squared and b squared, and you will subtract them. Okay? Really, really simple. All right. Now, what if I have the square of a binomial? That means that this is a plus b raised to the second power. What does that really mean? A plus b squared really says what? A plus b times a plus b. See how that's a little bit different? This has opposite signs, correct? This has exactly the same sign. So when you combine like terms in the middle, you're actually going to get 2 times whatever that is. Okay? So that's just a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Okay? Now, the same thing applies here. If I have a minus b and I square it, what does that really say? A minus b times a minus b. So now the shortcut really just says you're going to get a squared, but now it's minus a 2ab plus b squared. Okay? All right, does that make sense? All right, so here we go. Let's multiply these polynomials. This is still called, in our 4 steps, distributing. We are just distributing. We add this word FOIL so you understand how to distribute if it's more than just one term. Okay? So yes, we are distributing, and we are using first, outer, inner, last to get it done. Okay? So this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. Really simple. And then for you to show work, I would actually show it. So x squared times what? X. That's the first term. Then I'm going to add to it x squared times what? The second term, 2. Then I'm going to add to it. Now I'm going to use 3. So 3 times what? This first term times x. Add to it 3 times the second term, which is what? 2. Okay, so here we go. X times x to the first. X squared times x to the first. What do we do with those powers? We add them. Okay, so this is x cubed. What's the coefficient? 1. 1 times 1 is 1, so I just get x cubed. X squared times 2. You got it. 2x squared. What about 3 times x? You got it. 3 times x. Always put the coefficient out front, okay? And then 3 times 2 is what? 6. Is there anything to combine? No. What's my highest term? 3. So I have a third degree polynomial that has 4 terms. And they're in order. Highest degree first, second, third, and then naturally constants. Okay? Our second example, this is 3x squared. Multiply it to the first term and to the second term. Take this next term, our second term in this binomial, multiply it by the first term and the second term. I have 4 arrows. I'm going to have 4 problems. So that's 3x squared times what? The first term, x. I put it in parentheses just so you can see it. So we add what? 3x squared has to be multiplied to the second term. 3x squared times a positive 5. So as you can see, 3x squared has been multiplied by both terms in this second binomial. Now I do negative 2x. So negative 2x times what? The first term, which is just x. Then I have negative 2x times what? The 5. All right. So as you can see, negative 2x, here's that negative 2x, and it's multiplied by both terms in the second binomial. All right, so let's do it. 3x squared times x. Well, there's an x, there's an x. When we multiply, we add the powers. So 3x to the third plus, what's 3x squared times that? Well, there's no variable here, so I just do the constants. 3 times 5, which is what? 15x squared. Simply put. All right, here we go. A negative 2, and this says a negative. No, that's not a negative. That's a multiplication sign right there. What's the power right here? 1. Not the power. The coefficient. 1, correct? So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. So I get negative 2. The power of x is 1. Power of x is 1. So we do what? We add them. If we add them, I get x squared. Okay? Then here, I get a negative 2 times what? The 5. Okay? So a negative times a positive is a negative. So I get negative 10. And there's just an x. Okay? But look here. These two in the middle have x's, x's, and the same power. So I can add them. I can combine like terms. So 3x cubed, nothing happened. 15 minus 2 is what? A positive 13. I'm adding and subtracting. Do I do anything with the powers? No. Keep it the same. And then negative 10x. So my final answer is 3x cubed plus 13x squared minus 10. Okay, we got a binomial times a trinomial. Okay, so this has 2 terms, this has 3 terms. It's not FOIL because it's not first, outer, inner, last, but we're still distributing the same concept. Okay, we need to multiply every term in the first polynomial to every term in the second polynomial. Okay, so x times x squared times negative 5x times positive 4. Now I do the same thing with the 2. 2 times x squared, 2 times negative 5x, 2 times a positive 4. So now I have 6 different equations that I actually have to do. Okay, so here we go. X times x squared. Add to it x times, and what's the second term? A negative 5x. Add to it x times what? 4. So that's x times every term in the first one. Now let's do the second one. I have a 2 times x squared. a 2 times negative 5x. Be careful with the signs. If you don't bring the signs with it, you're going to mess up. Okay? And then 2 times 4. Notice I just add up all these different things and I kept the signs with the actual term. Okay? So, here we go. X times x squared. Well, this has a power of 1, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the powers because I'm multiplying. There's no coefficients. Well, coefficients are 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So I get x to the third. 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, x times negative 5x, the coefficient is 1 times a negative 5. So I get negative 5. Do the coefficients first. Then I got x to the first, x to the first. I'm multiplying, so what do? Add. So I get x squared. Okay? Now, coefficient of 1. So 1 times 4 is still 4. And x tags along because it's multiplied. Okay? Here, I have a coefficient of 1. So 2 times 1 is what? 2. I have an x squared. There we go. Here, I have 2 times negative 5. 2 times negative 5 is what? Negative 10. And I have an x there. Don't forget your variables. And then 2 times 4, I get what? Positive 8. Now, I got to go back through and look. I see that I have an x squared. I have an x squared. I have a 4x. I have a negative 10. Remember, you must combine like terms to simplify this. Anything with the x cubed? Nothing. So just bring it down. Now I have x squareds. This says negative 5 plus 2 x squared. So negative 5 plus 2. So that's really 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So negative 3x squared. Now I got to combine these gray ones. So 4x minus 10x. So 10 minus 4 is 6. Keep the sign of the bigger number. Negative 6x. Because I don't, whenever I'm adding or subtracting, I do not change the powers or the variable, okay? Leave that alone. You only do that when multiplying. And then what's last? 8 plus 8. And there we go. It's in order. Highest power, second highest power, third highest power, no power. It's just a constant, okay? Example number 2, when multiplying a binomial times a trinomial. Okay, so how many arrows do I have up top? 3, because I got to multiply the first term by every single term in the second. And then I have the second term in the binomial times every single term in the second polynomial. Okay, the trinomial has 3 terms. So let's write it out. Let's go fast. Here we go. I got 3x. What am I multiplying it by? Negative 2x cubed. Then I'm going to add to it the 3x times what? The 5x. Let's make sure that looks like a multiplication symbol. And then I'm going to take 3x and I'm going to multiply it by what? Negative 6. Okay, then I have the negative 4. So negative 4 times what? A negative 2x cubed. And then I have a negative 4 times what? 5x. And then I have what? Negative 4 times negative 6. Okay, so let's just do it. 3 times 2, a negative 2 that is, I get negative 6. This has x to the first. This is x times x, so I do what? 1 plus 3. 1 plus 3 is what? 4. So here, 3 times 5, I get what? 15. This is x to the first, x to the first, x times x. I add the powers. So that's x squared, because 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, 3 times a negative 6, I get negative 18 x time, and multiply it by x. Okay, Negative 4 and negative 2 gives me a positive 8x cubed. Negative 4 and 5, negative 20. Keep the x. Negative 4 and negative 6 is positive 24. And that's how you do that. Okay? So now, let's go through. Here's an x squared, nothing for it. That's an x to the fourth, nothing for it. The only like terms that I see are right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to write these in order. So, 4 is the highest power. So, negative 6x to the fourth. What's the next highest power? Over here. So, I get positive 8x to the third. What's the next highest power? Positive 15x squared. What's the next highest power? These two. So I need to combine them. So negative 18 minus 20. Same sign, so just add them. 20 plus 18 is 38, but keep the sign. So negative 38. Do I do anything with the powers when I'm adding or subtracting? No. So leave it alone. That still has a power of 1. And then what's left? 24. So your answer is right there. Okay? Highest degree, fourth degree. All right?